Hi YouTube and welcome to my channel. My name is Patrick, and if you saw some of my most recent videos, you'll see how I tested Windows 10 security against some real-life threats and how it fell flat. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can make Windows 10, Windows 11 a little more secure and a little bit more private. So let's go ahead and dig right in. Okay, so there's a few things that we're going to do in order to improve the security and the privacy of Windows 10 and 11. Specifically, we're going to enable optional security features, we're going to turn off the invasive telemetry, and finally, we're going to get rid of all of those annoying ads. So we're going to do all of this with the help of some PowerShell scripts that I wrote, and you'll see this isn't just your generic, switch off these settings kind of situation. We're going to dive deep and actually make this persistent, so the changes that you make today running these scripts are going to persist into the future whenever Windows updates, etc. Because that's part of the problem, right? So with Windows, you can go in and you can change all these settings and make it so that it's a lot more secure and private. But the problem is, when a Windows update happens, Microsoft is well known for going in and changing those settings back, and it's super annoying. Microsoft doesn't understand consent, but it's okay, we're going to do something to combat that. So let's jump onto my Windows machine and let's see what we can do. Alright, so like I said, we're going to do a little bit of this work in PowerShell, but before we do that, I wanted to show you how you can do some of this stuff manually. So I'm going to go down here to the Start button, and we're going to search for Windows Security, and there's a few optional security features that we're going to switch on in here. So specifically, let's go into Virus and Threat Protection, and then we'll go to Manage Settings. And what you want to do is make sure you go in and enable controlled folder access. Now what that is going to do is it's going to help protect you against any form of ransomware that may try to run on your computer. The way this works is that if a program tries to make changes to your desktop documents or pictures folders, well, Windows is going to block that by default, and then you're going to have to go in and actually allow that program to make changes to those folders, which can be a little bit annoying, but the fact of the matter is, this is a great way to protect yourself from ransomware, and very much worth the extra couple clicks. Another thing that you probably want to make sure is enabled is here in the device settings, and then under core isolation, you want to make sure that you have memory integrity enabled as well. So I can't enable memory integrity on this virtual machine, but on a hardware computer, you're probably going to have the prerequisites to use this. But basically what it does is it helps protect the running programs in Windows from having other programs inject malicious code into them, which is a common way that viruses and malware will try to trick the system into running them. So those are a couple of the optional features that you can enable manually in Windows Security, but really I want to show you these three scripts that I put together. Alright, so this first one is going to be the ad removal script. Now this is interesting because there's a lot of ways that Windows decides to feed you ads. And again, you can change all of this manually by clicking around in the Settings app. But the thing is, when a Windows update happens, Microsoft is going to go in and change these settings back to the default, which is to show you ads. It's probably on purpose, allegedly, in my opinion. So how does this work? Well, what we're doing is we're interacting with the Windows registry. For those of you who aren't familiar with the registry, you need to be very careful when you're making edits to it. But essentially, the registry is a central database full of hives, not files, but it's full of hives, and basically it's just a central place to store all the settings about your Windows computer. So what we're doing here is we're interacting with the registry to change some of these settings. So you'll see there's a ton of different things that it's changing the registry here. Don't worry too much about all of these. You don't really need to know the details, but these are the different settings that enable advertisements on your system. So the real action happens down here. It's going to actually make a script and save it to your disk, and then it's going to make a new scheduled task. So what's that about? Well, this is kind of how we're going to combat Microsoft changing these settings back on us. So basically, by creating a new scheduled task, every time the computer boots up, it's going to reapply these settings. That way, when a Windows update happens and Microsoft rolls the settings back to their original condition, it will automatically reapply them for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And so what's happening here is it's just creating the new scheduled task, registering the scheduled task, and then it's going to write output saying that it has succeeded. So let's see this in action. So you're going to need to open a PowerShell window as administrator. To do that, you can right-click on the Start button and choose Windows PowerShell Admin. And once you have your admin PowerShell window, you will just navigate to the directory containing the PowerShell scripts. In my case, they're on the desktop. And then you very simply just run the script. So we'll do add removal.ps1, and it failed because I already did this, so there's already a scheduled task with the same name. But that's all you have to do, and then you're going to not see all those ads in Windows. So what else have we got here? We also have this PowerShell script, and the purpose of this one is to disable telemetry throughout the system. So by default, Windows collects pretty much everything that you do. Everything you do on a Windows system is logged and then sent to Microsoft to serve you ads and do telemetry funny business with. So this is going to help combat that. And you can see it's a similar situation to what we're doing in the other one. Let me just turn on word wrap here so you can see. It's interacting with the registry. Again, that is that central database that stores all the settings about Windows. And what it's doing is it's changing the registry settings so that the telemetry that Windows sends out by default will be neutered. And then we've got something very similar to the last script going on here. It makes a new scheduled task that runs at startup. That way, every time you turn on your computer, these settings get reapplied, and we are remediating the issue where Windows will go in and change those settings back. So in order to run this script, again, you just open a PowerShell admin window, and then you navigate to the folder containing the script, and then you run it. And again, it's giving me an error because I already ran this script, so it can't create two scheduled tasks with the same name. But that's the idea. That's how you would actually go about getting this set up. And then finally, we have a Windows security settings script. Let me just turn on word wrap for that as well. And this is basically going in and enabling all of the attack surface reduction rules. So what are attack surface reduction rules? Well, they are optional features that come with Windows that help mitigate some of the most common attack methods. Things like Office macros and Office programs trying to spawn child processes, LSAS protection, very common attack that you'll see in enterprises is that malware will raid the local security authority subsystem, which basically contains hashes of your passwords, so that's them trying to get your password. So there's actually an optional setting here that we're going to enable that will go in and prevent that kind of attack from happening. And there's a bunch of these, right? You can see all of these different attack surface reduction rules we're enabling here. And then, yep, it's just enabling those rules. So pretty straightforward. And again, to run that, you open a PowerShell admin window, navigate to the folder, and then, very simply, you just execute the script, and it's going to turn on all of those attack surface reduction rules. Alright, so that was my video on how you can make Windows a little bit more secure, a little more private. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below to my website where you can get a copy of these scripts to run on your own computer. And just be aware that I'm not responsible for anything this breaks. Some of these settings that we're changing may interfere with the normal operation of your machine, so only execute them if you have a good understanding of how they work and a good understanding of how to reverse them in case it breaks anything. I'm not responsible for anything that goes wrong if you run these scripts, They are provided as is, and they have no guarantee of being functional, but you do have the option to run them, and I hope that you found this video interesting. If you enjoy cybersecurity content, then consider subscribing to the channel. I try to post at least one new video a week. I had a lot of fun making this for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.